It is now 6 o'clock, calling the board back to order. Do we have any action as necessary or appropriate regarding matters discussed in executive session? Ms. Boatwright?
Yes, Colonel Gaup. Is that, okay. We have two. The first motion is I move we approve the superintendent's recommendations for employment listed on the January 1st, 2024 through January 31st, 2024 personnel ratification report.
You have a second? Second by Mr. Dallas. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor here tonight signify by saying aye and raising your hand. Aye.
Aye.
Those by video, Mr. Campbell? Mr. Campbell, we can't hear you. Ms. Gordon? Ms. Gordon says aye? Yes. Motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda.
We have a second motion.
We have a second motion. No, go ahead.
Motion number 2, coming out of executive session. I move that we accept the superintendent's recommendation for the monthly adult education report for February 6th, 2024.
Second?
Second that motion.
Second from Mr. Smith. Any discussion? Hearing none, those in present, please say aye. Raise your hand. Aye. Those online, Mr. Campbell, got a thumbs up. Miss Chloe?
She thumbs up too.
Thumbs up. Okay, motion carries unanimously. I believe that is all we have from the executive session. Okay. The next item is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda? Dr. Wisniewski. Second by Ms. Boatwright. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor here, please raise hand and say aye. Aye. Those online, Mr. Campbell, aye. And I see Ms. Chloe, aye. Motion carries unanimously. Next item is please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing for a moment of silence. Thank you very much. Please have a seat. Ms. Cushenberry, has the media been properly notified? Thank you. Next, we have the pleasure of having a student performance from MC Riley's Song and Dance Ensemble performing Leadership Day Mashup under the direction of music teacher Melanie Nolan. Please come up and do your thing.
They were dancing.
Mine just like sliding over. Thanks. I think he was gonna try to move me.
Oh, this thing?
Yeah. All right, guys, you better respond.
a lot of fun, seeing all there is to see. And now it's time to show all about what I can. Whoa, this is our leadership song. Whoa, this is where we belong. Whoa, this is our leadership song. Whoa, this is where
awesome job.
That's our superintendent with the podium.
Okay, let's move on. Dr. Rodriguez, do you have any points of celebration?
We sure do this evening. Our points of celebration, we begin with our Students of the Month in Southern Beaufort County. And so tonight we're celebrating Student of the Month for November and December in Southern Beaufort County. First up, the character traits for November were respect and gratitude. Respect is defined as showing high regard for an authority, other people, self, and country. Gratitude is defined as showing you are thankful for what others have done for you. November's Student of the Month for Southern Beaufort County is Brock Rangel, a second grade student at MC Riley Elementary School. And here to introduce our student is our MC Riley Elementary Principal, Ms. Melissa Holland.
Good evening. We are so happy to be here tonight to celebrate Brock Rangel. He's a second grader at Michael C. Riley, and like Dr. Rodriguez said, he's being celebrated for gratitude from the month of November. And I just want to share what his teacher said about him back when he was nominated. His teacher, Mr. Rishin, said that Brock shows respect and gratitude each day when he comes to school. He starts off his morning showing respect to his teachers by saying good morning to them as he passes by them on his way to his classroom. Throughout the school day, he continues to show respect and gratitude by using his manners whenever speaking to his teachers, peers, or anyone in the building. Additionally, Brock does not only treat others with respect, but he also treats his belongings with respect. He takes care of his books, his laptop, his materials, and he organizes all of them each day. He shows respect to the classroom as well and follows all classroom expectations. He treats others how he would want to be treated. And when synergizing with his classmates, even when there are differing opinions, Brock first seeks to understand, and that exhibits so much respect. Being respectful, he also shows that he's very proactive and in charge of his actions. And yesterday when I went to visit Brock and his classmates, I asked them to share some special things about him when he's shown respect and gratitude with his peers. And here's some of the things that his friends said about him. One friend said that every morning when Brock comes into school, he says good morning to all the people around him, and then it reminds them to say good morning to others as well. When Brock is outside at recess, he always plays with people who seem like they don't have anyone to play with, and he doesn't leave anyone behind, and that makes his friends want to do the same exact thing. One friend said that they see Brock showing respect at recess when he plays soccer. If somebody falls, he helps them up. Another friend said that he always uses his manners by saying thank you when he receives something. And this one's special. Someone said that one time they dropped their homework on the floor and Brock rushed right over to pick it up and help him without being asked. So that's pretty special. We're really proud to have him in our school. He's a great leader. And congratulations to him and his family.
Next, the Character Education Student of the Month for December. December's character trait was compassion, and compassion is defined as a feeling of wanting to help someone who is sick, hungry, in trouble, etc. December's Student of the Month for Southern Beaufort County is Taylor Herron, a 7th grade student at H.E. McCracken Middle School. And here to introduce Taylor is H.E. McCracken Middle School Principal, Mr. Ryan Milley.
I'm here to speak on behalf of Taylor Herron, our student here at H.E. McCracken Middle School. I want to read some of the things that was said about Taylor. We're very excited at H.E. McCracken about his success because we know it takes all of us, even our board members and community members, for all of our students to be successful. Our mission says that Taylor Herron is an H.E. McCracken selection for the December Student of the Month, representing compassion. He's also our South of the Broad student. Taylor has such a big heart and always wants to help everyone he sees. He encourages others to finish their work. He encourages them at the class transitions during the day. He wants to make sure everyone is doing okay, and if they aren't, he's trying to help them have a better day. As you can see, he may not always show it all the time, but his heart is so big and full of love that he just cannot contain it. He's always showing compassion to others. I present to you all Taylor Herron of H.E. McCracken Middle School.
This is a good time, before I continue with the rest of the points of celebration, to let everyone know that Hilton Head Island Middle School, last week, middle school wrestling team became middle school wrestling champions last week. And last night, middle school boys and middle school girls team in basketball became the middle school champions in basketball. So they've had a pretty great week. Next on the points of celebration is the National Interscholastic Athletic Administrator 2023 Bruce D. Whitehead Distinguished Service Award. In December, the district's athletic director, Carlos Cave, was presented with the National Interscholastic Athletic Administrator 2023 Bruce D. Whitehead Distinguished Service Award. The Bruce D. Whitehead Distinguished Service Award is presented annually to individuals from within the NIAAA membership in recognition of their service, special accomplishments, and contributions to interscholastic athletics at the local, state, and national levels. Nominations are submitted by state athletic administrator associations, screened by the NIAAA Awards Committee, and selected by the NIAAA Board of Directors. And I invite Mr. Carlos Cave up to receive the certificate and a round of applause today. And this is National School Counseling Week. National School Counseling Week, sponsored by the American School Counselors Association, is this Friday, February 5th through February 9th. And to highlight the importance of this week, I'll read the following proclamation into the record. Whereas school counselors are employed in public and private schools to help students reach their full potential, and whereas school counselors are actively committed to helping students explore their abilities, strengths, interests, and talents, as these traits relate to their career awareness and development. And whereas school counselors help parents focus on ways to further the educational, personal, and social growth of their children. And whereas school counselors work with teachers and other educators to help students explore their potential and set realistic goals for themselves. And whereas School Counselors Week to identify and utilize community resources that can enhance and complement comprehensive school counseling programs and help students become productive members of society. And whereas comprehensive developmental school counseling programs are considered an integral part of the educational process that enables all students to achieve success in school. Therefore, I, Frank Rodriguez, proud superintendent of the Beaufort County School District, do hereby proclaim February 5th through 9th, 2024, as a National School Counseling Week. And school counselors have a tremendous impact in helping the students achieve school success and plan for a career. Many thanks to our district school counselors and educators who collaborate in support of our students.
Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez, and I believe we're having an event, a celebratory event on Friday at noontime.
I believe so. Seeking our Counselor of the Year, Guidance Counselor of the Year.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is public comments. Do we have any public comments? We do not, so we will move on. For the chair reports, the chair is right now on probably the back side of Vail Ski Resort in Great Powder, having a wonderful time. And that's the only report that I have for the chair this evening.
Well done.
The next item is we have a committee report from the Academics Committee. Ms. Gordon?
Your audio is not coming through.
You're still muted. There we go.
She's not muted, their audio is not coming through.
Is
Yeah, her mic level's going off, so, I mean, something's going on, but their audio.
I need to get help.
Ask John for help.
But yeah, the volume's not activated
On the, yeah. Be coming in through county channel, not Sarah.
pardon me?
It's coming through county channel, but not here.
But, okay.
Unreasonable.
I'm not controlling the audio.
It's things.
Maybe she want to call in. Maybe using her phone. That may work.
I also propose that we could move the academics committee a little bit further down the agenda while they work on this.
Okay, that's a good idea.
The other possibility, Colonel Geyer, is since it's an academic committee component and Dr. Stratos is here to do the presentation, since she was at the academic committee as well, if you like, she can just deliver on Ms. Gordon's behalf.
Let's see if are we close to getting it fixed? Doesn't look like it. I see the volume going up.
I pushed that button. Just want you to know.
Oh, I saw you.
Yeah,
I
right?
can vouch.
It doesn't seem to be working, but
I sunk into that claim.
I want credit for the failed solution over here. We tried turning it off and turning it back
Right.
on.
Reboot.
You pushed it like this and he pushed it like that.
Same results.
Failure.
Who's on the academic committee?
Ms. Gordon, can you try again?
Yeah, it's from back there, but yes,
Yeah, from somebody
coming
else's
from over
computer.
there.
We're so excited.
Bring that computer a mic.
Us implanted neural link
Right?
into a human being 2 days ago. We can't
He
get the
sure
volume
did.
up on a Zoom meeting. Cybertruck and auto drive and then the Apple broadcast.
We're getting closer.
Hot warmer.
Go ahead.
We traded one problem for another.
Exactly. Isn't that just?
All right, we'll keep playing around. Dr. Stratos, would you like to come forward and begin your portion of this?
Thank you, Vice Chair Guy, and good evening, board members. I'll give a quick summary of our presentation work with our membership from our team. So good evening, Vice Chair Guyer. As shared by Board Member Chloe Gordon, Chair of our Academic Committee, on January 31st, 2024, an Academic Committee meeting was conducted. At this evening, the Instructional Services Division presented 4 presentations, 2 of which will be presented during this portion of tonight's board meeting. K-12 English Language Arts textbook adoption and the 2024-2025, as well as proposal for 2025-2026 calendar presentations. These 2 items may require board input. The final presentations conducted during the academic committee were an administrative regulation, IS 9, which is of dual enrollment. There were a few modifications made to that with regard to dual enrollment programs that you will get a little more information as we go forward on the superintendent's report under student achievement. So joining us this evening regarding English Language Arts is Melissa Murray, our Director of K-12 Literacy. Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to bring forward the 2024-2025 textbook selections from our educators K-12. You've been provided with 2 documents. One is an executive summary and the other is a PowerPoint. As I share, I will reference both, but they align in messaging. I need to start by saying the 2024-2025 school year also brings full implementation for the 2023 ELA standards. This is significant to the work we did to prepare and select textbooks to bring forward for your approval. I referenced the standards law at the top of your executive summary. Beaufort County School District Admin Rule IS 36 states that the Board of Education has final approval of the recommendations from the Committee of Educators. This section of the admin rule is located on your executive summary. On the slide, you will also see some of the processes we went to get to this point, such as an entire list of improved materials was shared with all schools. Samples from each publisher was requested for each school, and we had a strategic timeline to facilitate this adoption process. This textbook selection is a 6-year cycle funded by the South Carolina Department of Education. the Department of Education released an improved list of textbook choices on December 12th. For the 2024-2025 school year, English Language Arts K through 5, English Language Arts 6 through 8, and English Language Arts 9 through 12 have been identified by the South Carolina Department of Education as adopting new textbooks. The state opened the textbook selection for community feedback shared with our schools and educators. Beaufort County School District also sent out notification of the community review window. To prepare and make the best possible choice of textbooks, we had a series of professional learning opportunities. Your executive summary has the dates. We had 8 sessions focused on standards and 7 focused on textbooks. 5 of those sessions were an overlap of both. All schools participated in the process. For textbooks specifically, we came together with representation from schools to hear from the textbook companies, but we had the lens of our standards to make our selection based on the extensive work done prior. Across the 2 days of textbooks professional learning, we had over 120 educators representing our schools come together and then take back all they learned to their colleagues. Each teacher who teaches this course and support staff who also uses the materials were provided with an opportunity to assess the materials and vote for their selection. We had 598 votes, K-12. Based on these votes, I am here requesting your approval for the majority selections at each grade level range. Kindergarten through 5th grade had 5 state-approved options, and the educators selected Houghton Mifflin Harcourt Publishing Company. Middle school had 3 state-approved options, and the educators selected Savvis Learning Company. High school also had 3 state-approved options, and Savvis Learning Company was also selected by our high school educators.
Do we have a motion for acceptance, and then we can have questions or comments?
At this time, Mr. Chairman, I move that we do accept the recommendation of the textbooks from the staff.
Second by Dr. Wisniewski. So questions, comments from the board? Dr. Wisniewski and then Mr. Dallas.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will try to be brief. On the community review aspect of things, you said that was done locally as well as at the state level. What do we have in regard to any data of what the community support was for these different publications or what their feedback was?
So the way the State Department proceeds is the community sees the list first, and then they do not publish what is eligible for adoption until after that review process. So on our end, what we see is the final list after it is vetted by the community.
Okay, so we don't have on our level, after they've approved the list, some type of community involvement. It's mostly just at the school site level with our educators.
Yes, ma'am, it's done at the state level.
Okay.
So that feedback would have went to the State Department of Ed.
Okay, and we don't have a way of getting that from them, or they don't share that with us? Sorry.
Not that I am aware.
Okay. One more question. You mentioned this is a 6-year cycle, is that correct on these textbooks?
Yes.
How often do new editions come out?
So it is supposed to be every 6 years, but for English Language Arts, we have not had an adoption for elementary in 14 years, and we have not had an adoption for secondary in 12 years.
Okay, so, but the actual textbook editions, do the publishers put out a new edition each year? And we get the updated edition, or do new editions come out whenever they like? How does that work?
So it works where we have the same teacher edition for 6 years, and then every year the consumable for children is replenished during that 6-year cycle. And then standards are on a 7-year cycle, so I'm hoping it will continue to align. When we get a new standards, we'll have the opportunity to adopt a new textbook.
Thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome.
Mr. Dallas?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair.
First of all, I'd like to applaud the district staff for the methodology that they've chosen, which involves a lot of community involvement that helps us position it and take it forward out in the community. The second thing is I was not able to participate in the academic committee. I joined, but I couldn't stay because of we had some network connectivity problems on Hilton Head that time. So I actually got the books and went through them, and I would encourage all of the board members to do that. It is very telling. I think, I applaud the staff because they had a very limited group. There were three selection points. The first had 5 books, the second had 3 books, and this third had 3 books. So there wasn't a large population to choose from. Those books, if you don't understand the standards, which I don't and didn't, still don't, but it goes through such detail, and you look at what our teachers have to do, it is exponentially different from the see Dick run, see Jane throw the ball. It's light years ahead of that. So a lot of times people don't realize the challenges that our teachers have in taking those kids through a very methodical, disciplined progression to get them to use mental concepts that I did not know was occurring in the first 5 years. I mean, actually asking them to identify and challenge some of the assumptions. And they pointed something out that when you see a character do something unexpected in one of those situations, they're asking the kid to say, when you see that, that's character, the author is showing you that that person is uncomfortable with what they're doing. That's why they're doing something unexpected. I never saw that that's 80, 100 years ago that I was going through it. But that's the type of thing I think is beneficial for all the school board members to take a look at it. Just go through it and you'll see the progression. There are some limitations. The population from which they could choose was very limited, was scripted. I don't think that there's a balance in terms of the topics that are covered. I think that has to be addressed, but I think that's an opportunity for the school board to calibrate between the legislative effort and the curriculum and try to achieve a better balance. But kudos to the district staff and all that you did. It's absolutely phenomenal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Smith?
I would definitely just take this time out to do recognize that this, in terms of books, and in terms of all this material, that this is Black History Month, and I think that we have took the time out to recognize that this is counselors week or month, but also that we do appreciate, and I'm sure somewhere in these books there are some Black history being taught or some Black history information. So this is Black History Month, so we would not want to forget that and support Black History Month. And thank you for that. Thank you. Just a comment.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions, comments? I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Online, I see an aye. I see 2 ayes. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much, Melissa.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Stratus.
Thank you, sir. And board members, thank you for that. I have to share, there was a significant amount of work put in, so I do appreciate your cooperation and support. Joining me on the second segment of the presentation this evening, and this would be for our calendar presentation, is Karen McKenzie. She is our secondary director for teaching and learning. Karen has worked very close with me in presentation work regarding the calendars that we will be putting forward to you this evening. I want to share with you some behind-the-scenes information with regard to calendar development. There were early discussions amongst divisions. Gathering of input was internal and external, even to the points of receiving calendars from educators, passed from board members, and through district administrators. There was input from educators, community, parents. What is most telling is the use of the most recent BCSD Connect. This application was put out through our communications department. Ms. McKenzie will give a little more detail regarding additional input focus groups we conducted, but I want to share some data points as we go forward and share the options selected from BCSD Connect. I hope many of you have taken the opportunity to look at the 5 options. We actually had 3, and then we went into 5. I'm going to ask Ms. Cushing-Perry to please go ahead with the video first, and then we will pause. Ms. Cushing-Perry, if it's going to be possible, we'll do this live, subject to the sound. Is that okay? Thank you. Hi, Ms. Please come on down.
Absolutely. The way that we did the calendar process this year was we had 5 development committees that met throughout.
She doesn't have the PowerPoint. Do you have the PowerPoint?
Oh, okay, perfect.
Only because I want to go through the legislation.
Yeah.
And also, while she gets the PowerPoint ready, from being on the academic committee, I would definitely like to thank them, and also let the community know that you can also see these PowerPoints in Spanish and in English as well. They were both done in both languages, so if you want to go to the website, if you speak Spanish, then you can definitely listen to it in Spanish. So they were both done, they were readily available in both languages. So thank the staff for that, and that is FYI. Thank you.
Absolutely. So we have some calendar considerations that we took under account when we were in the development of the calendar. Obviously, feedback from our educators, from the families that we serve, and from the communities that we serve in. We also have some strict guidelines from the state, so we had to adhere to those. And those are really wrapped around instructional development days for our teachers, instructional days for our students, and professional development days for our teachers, as well as emergency weather makeup days. So there was a request, and this was really strong from some of our teachers, especially at the secondary level, for a 90-90 semester split. And as you know, we've been operating, this year was an 85-95 split, so that means in first semester, our teachers had 85 days for instruction in first semester and 95 in second. So teachers had been asking, can we get a 90-90 instructional split? However, we also have to consider that we have some early graduates, and they need to go on to college, to career, and to military, so we wanted to make sure that that cutoff was strong at our winter break. We had a request for additional breaks throughout the year, and that was for our students and our educators. We had a request that our graduation dates align with teacher professional development days. That allows our teachers to attend those graduations, whether if they were that 8th grade teacher, that 5th grade teacher, they wanted to be able to attend those students' graduations. There was a request for summer learning opportunities to remain in the month of June, and that includes our summer learning through our summer school program, as well as our summer camps, like our CISA program and our STEAM camps, and Camp Conroy. There was a request for a modified later start date, but to keep it a little bit closer to what the state had requested. And there was a request for a state start on the 3rd Monday as the state has us listed. Then in South Carolina Code 591425, the statutory school term has to be 190 days annually. Out of that 190 days, 180 days have to be set aside for student instruction. Opening days for students cannot be before the 3rd Monday of August, except for schools that operate on a year-round modified calendar. 3 days have to be set aside for professional development days, and that follows along with South Carolina Code 59-18-300. Again, going back to 59-1425, the professional development days that we have for our teachers at a minimum must address our student achievement, our standards, strengthening our teachers' knowledge within their content area, and teaching techniques, strategies, assessment. No more than 2 days can be used for the preparation of the opening of schools. The remaining 5 days can be used for teacher planning, parent conferences, those days at the end of each semester. And then again, we have to have at least 3 weather makeup days. Again, with Code 59-1425, if a school is closed early due to snow, so that's once a decade, or other weather conditions, or any other kind of disruptions, the day can count toward the required minimum to the extent allowed by the State Board of Education. The instructional day for our secondary students must be a minimum of 6 hours a day, excluding lunch, and for our elementary students, it's 6 hours a day, including lunch. Elementary schools and secondary schools can reduce the length of the instructional day by not more than 3 hours for not more than 3 days. So that's basically our half days. So let's go through that again, because I know that was a lot. We have to have 190 days. 180 days have to be student instruction. 10 days have to be professional development, 3 of which have to be based on planning and educational standards. No more than 2 days can be used to set up our classrooms, and the 5 remaining days are teacher planning, parent conferences, and things like that. 3 half days can be utilized, but it can't be more than 3 hours early, and we have to have 3 makeup days. Whew, it's a lot to include in a calendar, isn't it? So, with that being said, what we did with this was first we put it in front of our school leaders, our principals. That was group number 1. We had several calendars. From that, they gave their options. Then we gathered a group of, pretty much a random group of people who worked within our schools, all schools. A teacher, a guidance counselor, a coach, those kind of things. What's your opinion? From that, we went from 3 calendars to 4, okay? Then we met with our school improvement committees, and that was a comprehensive where they could come together from around the district. From their input, we went from 4 to 5 options. After that, we put everything in front of our teacher forum. Those are our leaders around the district from each school. So there were 32 teachers that involved in that. And I will say, they came up with a pretty strong consensus of their option. So once we got that, we put it out in front of our community, and we asked them to give us input and let us know what they wanted in a calendar.
Thank you, Ms. McKenzie.
Absolutely.
So board members, as we go forward with the 2024-2025 options, Mrs. Cushenberry, next slide, please. Thank you. I'd like to share a few things. You'll see this is a 90-90 split, meaning 90 days first semester, 90 days second semester. The break of first semester will be in December at winter break. So I'm going to walk through this so you'll see repetition of what's going to be coming forward. I do want to share that this option received 652 preference votes from the poll for a total of 25% of preference. The month of August, we start, and I know it is a bit of a distance for some of you. We start on the 6th, the month of September. You'll see we have straight through academics. Month of October, you have a mid-break progress reports, parent conferences on October 10th. The 11th is a day off. The month of November, we will have Election Day and Veteran Day, and then Thanksgiving break. Please note there is a weather makeup day on the 25th. The month of December, you'll see respectively in each option for this academic year will be 15 academic school days. January 2025, students return on the 7th, teachers return on the 6th. Please note the 3rd of January is a weather makeup day. The month of February, we have 2 days off, and please, I did leave out, we have a holiday in January, as we do have respectively a holiday in the month of February. In February 14th is identified will be our professional development conference conducted annually. By this calendar, will be our 4th year. March, you'll see respectively a half day at the break of the 3rd quarter into 4th quarter, again a weather makeup day. And what you're going to note is graduation will be in the month of May. These calendars will mimic from 2024-25 the same pattern you will see for the 2025-2026. Next calendar, please. Option 2 received 1,035 preference at 40.5% of the preference polled. And I don't want to be redundant, so I took a little more time on the first option. You can see the pattern, how option 2 falls, and I'll highlight some of the key differences. First start date for students is the 7th of August. Teachers will report on the 31st of July. October has a little break, resulting with the week of Thanksgiving being shortened, so it's not the same full week as in option 1. And again, 15 days off, 15 days of academic in December. One difference in January, students return for the start of second semester on the 8th. Teachers return on the 7th of January. There is a mid-February break. Same pattern, a half day at the close of the 3rd marking period. There's weather, you'll see the weather makeup days. And one thing I didn't point out to you, I do want you to recognize that Good Friday for 2024-2025 does land on April 18th. That's why you do not see a specific day off in the month of April. And you'll see the last student contact day is the 29th, and the teacher's last day is the 3rd. Option 3, with a total of 300 preference votes for 11.7% of the preferred tally. The difference here is the students' attendance on August 3rd, teachers report to work on July 30th, and you'll see the same pattern now going forward. As you go into January, you'll see a few more days for winter break. 2 professional development days in January. So teachers return to work on the 7th, students return to school on the 9th. Thank you, Mrs. Cushenberry. Please ignore the star on April 21st. That was just it's a gremlin, he just arrived there. Last student contact day will be the 28th of May, and our teacher's last contact day will be the 2nd of June. Again, these are 90-90 split options. And we have one more 90-90 split, and this is option 4. What is different here is the first start date for students is August 12th. It is a full week of professional development in August for our teachers. Each one of these calendars I do want to share, Summer Institute will be embedded in those August or the July professional development day, whichever calendar is eventually selected. On this option is a half day in October for the end of first marking period, and you'll see the pattern. What this calendar option provides is students' attendance starting on the 2nd Monday of August. What it results with are less intermittent breaks, but still provides a 90-90 semester split. Thank you, Mrs. Cushenberry.
Votes?
Yes, sir. This had 297 votes for a total of 11.6% of the preferred poll. And I do believe I was remiss, Colonel Guy, I didn't give you the percentage on option 3. That was 11.7 would have been the percentage of the preferred polled for option 3, board members. On this calendar, last contact day for our students is the 29th of May, And teacher last contract day will be the 3rd of June. That option 4 was request also from our SICs, so we added this to the options, this is a request from SIC. This is one of the calendars as an 85-95 split, many of us are familiar with. This follows the legislation, hence you will not see the language modified year-round. Legislation for an earlier start date, there isn't any. So we can develop a modified year-round calendar because it is not governed by legislation. So this is an 85-95 split. And I will have you just go, thank you. If you can go down a little further, you'll see how the school year ends. Because at this point, I believe you've probably seen the pattern. The difference here, last student contact day is June 5th. Teacher last contract day will be June 10th. The percentage in option 5, 270, 10.6% of the preferred selection by those polled. So I'm going to have you take a look, if we could take a quick look at the 2026. I want us to recognize 2 consecutive years we're bringing forward for review. With these, you will note very similar. Yes,
Can I
sir.
just add, this is the first time we're bringing forth 2 calendars for 2 years. So we can stay ahead of it, and I think it provides families some long-term planning in terms of 2 years.
And as Dr. Rodriguez shared, this was very well received in each of our focus groups to propose 2 years at a time. I want you to, you'll see the patterns very similar this to option 1 of the prior year, but I want us to go to the month of April just to bring something forward to you to see where Good Friday falls. Here we do have a Good Friday on April 3rd. On this option, we had 291 at 22.2% of preferred polled. Again, it is a 90-90 split. Option 2 for 2025-2026 academic school year, 590 polled chose this option at 45.1%. Do you want me to pause for any questions with this, or we're good? Okay. So would we like to go to option 3? This had 162 preferred polled votes at 12.4%. If you have the calendars in front of you, one thing I had recommended at academic committee, just put them next to each other. Option 1 with option 1, so you can see the patterns, they are exactly the same. Thank you. As we go to option 4, again, a 90-90 split. 154 votes at 11.8%. Our final option for 2025-2026 is the 85-95 split, 112 votes at 8.6% of the preference for those who responded to the poll. So I'd like to share with you those who responded. We had over 2,024 respondents. 1,311 were parents and guardians. 55 were students. 71 were community members. 9 were business partners. 191 identified themselves as others, 388 were staff, and that's a total distribution of the 2,024 polled. At this time,
As we went
if you
through the process of gathering feedback and put out the quick poll and the ideas section where people could provide anecdotal information, we did, believe, Candace, correct me if I'm wrong, but we sent it to the chambers of commerce in order to request that they send it to membership and businesses in the community in order to gather their input on this as well. So that was an effort, knowing when you push the start date up in some of those 90/90 calendars, wanted to make sure our business community had an opportunity to weigh in as well, so.
Wisniewski.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a couple questions, and if you want to skip around to other people, that's perfectly fine. So just to check my boxes here, are there any federal holidays that are not recognized with days off on any of these calendars?
If we could pull up one of the calendars, or let me have the hard, thank you.
I know that in the past
The
there was.
required federal holidays are identified, Dr. Wisniewski.
Okay.
Yeah, even in the, and I'm just going to use one randomly. So I have a 24-25 calendar in front of myself. So we have Labor Day, Memorial Day, President's Day, Martin Luther King, Juneteenth. Election Day is not a federal holiday, but it is identified in both versions. One that would be a presidential year, as well as recognizing that we do conduct elections within our school. And the other federal holiday is Veterans. So they have been identified in each and every calendar presented to the board, ma'am.
So you mentioned that there's, I believe, there's legislation is silent on the idea of a modified year-round calendar. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. Actually, there's a state memorandum on that as well. It is silent.
Okay.
So the state required recommendation is the third Monday of the month of August. However, since there is no legislation, or it is silent, as you postured, for year-round, it means that there's no governance on it, so it doesn't mean you can or cannot.
Are we concerned, or have we checked with our lobbyists that there's not going to be a push for, because I don't know how many other districts do this, a push for legislation that'll try to put us back into a third week of August scenario?
Last year, over the last several years, there have been an increasing number of school districts that have shifted calendars and modified their calendars, and they look different, in different places. And so last year in particular was a year where I think the state saw 64? Yeah, 64 begin to adjust, and that's well more than half.
Right. I just want to make sure that I'm then.
If there's any new legislation coming.
Yeah, I'm going to keep an eye on it in legislative committee and make sure that if that is going to impact us, when we make this change, that, we have our eyes on it. And I'll let somebody else ask some more questions.
All right.
Thank you, Congar. I have a couple questions. The concern I have heard in the community, I'm just bringing it forward, it's not much of a question, and then I do have a question, but it's just people that have already made plans thinking that the third week was locked in. How are we going to address that in terms of deposits for trips and camps that have already been secured? Because I do have sympathy for that position.
I think that was one of the reasons we actually have 5 options at this time in place, for that to be provided as an input for consideration. I do also want us to recognize that within BCSD Connect, we've asked those who are participating to give you an option or your preference for the 2024, and then you can select a separate preference for 25-26 academic school year. So it does lend for that type of consideration, hence it was the development of technically options 4 and 5.
Which is fair, but if we, as the board, based on the recommendations, select the first week of August, will there be any consideration, especially with, I mean, we have some fairly strict attendance policies right now, for parents who are going to be put in a position if they've already made arrangements, if they can prove that they already have a expensive trip or, you know, a camp thing, is there going to be any way to accommodate that so that the child doesn't end up in Saturday school for the rest of September?
Ms. Boatwright, I can't speak to saying that I can make adaptations for what is required for 180 days of attendance for a student. Hence, that's why we provided a diverse amount of options.
And I have do you mind if I have another question? I have two other concerns. One is if we go with one where we have big chunkier breaks throughout the year, which I'm strongly in favor of. But I think it's an opportunity to reach out to our community partners to provide childcare for those dates. Because that's always an issue. If you work in an industry where you don't, it's not easy to get time off having a 4-day break for Thanksgiving. I just want to make sure that we think about those sorts of things. My other question is, I looked up the test dates for AP and IB. And I understand that AP and IB is not all of our students, but it's an area that we want to, you know, have more students grow into. So I want to pay attention to that. Most of those dates start in the first week of May. In fact, I'll tell you right now, because they only have this year's up. But just for the board, week 1 for IB begins Wednesday, April 24th with Language A literature. For the AP class, I think it is, the first one is art history and chemistry on May 6th. So pushing back that, Chris, and I know this is not an option, but I'm saying pushing, these are things I think the school district needs to consider going forward. Starting in January 9th is going to make that tough to go from January 9th to April 24th to do an entire IB HL language class. So my question would be, what I would like to see from district leadership is a top-down to the principals on the master schedule, that they figure out how to schedule AP and IB classes so you're not doing IB chemistry in a 3-month block. And if that means they have to get creative, they do it in the first semester where you're now going to have 90 days with refreshers throughout. However, I would like to, in fact, I would actually like to have them submit to you, like, here's our plan to not have this, because it's already very, very stressful and we're pushing it back another week. Submit to you, like, here's how we're accommodating this. And, you know, because otherwise I feel that it could damage those programs. I tried to look up Cambridge ACE and I didn't understand it because it was at administrative zones, but some of the same dates.
Vice Chair McNair, so at one of our focus groups, we actually had one of our lead educators who has outstanding results with his AP. So he did share, and he went in and he looked very closely and gave you input, and he was in support of the calendars on the 90-90 split design. I do want to pick up what you're sharing with regard to having an opportunity for our students who are sitting for accelerated courses in order to have that academic momentum. That is something that our division could work very closely with, and I could share that our local high school right here on the island is very receptive to input from our division, and we could work with Dr. Cox with our other schools, because we have 2 other schools with Capstone. We also have ACE Cambridge, right, at 2 of our other high schools, so we could work very closely to ensure the alignment of courses that we're giving our students the best opportunity when they're going to sit for the assessment component. Yes, ma'am. Point taken.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just going to make a couple comments. One, it appears that option 2 is where the public leaned very heavily. I am a little bit concerned, though, that you stated that SIC preference was option 4.
It wasn't no, actually it was a recommendation.
To have more options.
If I can lend some clarification, thank you for bringing that up.
Thank you.
They were very much supportive of the 90-90. Actually, part of the conversation came down, just ripped the Band-Aid, and I'm just giving, and that is quote. But we are bringing forward what recommendations are as well. I think that's important to take that voice and develop that and not silent it. So that's where you see other options on the table as well, ma'am.
Okay, so it wasn't that the SICs were in favor of
No,
option
ma'am.
4, they were just in favor
But
of
it
more
came
options.
from that, it came from conversation, and we promised that we were going to bring that forward.
Okay. The other thing, when I'm looking at options.
Just,
Sorry.
so when that option was added and came forward, right, I think when it went to the broader public, we wanted to make sure that that additional option was there. Does that make sense?
Because that was the one that I personally was leaning to as a parent, but my vote's going to go where the majority of the public is sitting right now. And I think Ingrid has some very good points, especially in regard to our citizens that are working and maybe are going to have issues with childcare. And also I have concerns about those that have planned breaks that have high schoolers. That's a concern of mine as well, because that's a tough decision to make when you've got seat time and elementary kids, a little bit different. On option 2, it has a weather makeup day for January 6th. And we all know hurricane season can be a pain around here, so I'm trying to understand why the weather makeup day is before a PD day, and then school would come back. So if we did have a hurricane and we had to use that day, it could be one day of school, then a day off, then back to school again. It just seems very strange.
It's a hard toss,
Yeah.
right? It's a 50-50. Do we, what if, have the PD day have a break, and then have students report, or do the reverse?
Right.
The one thing in benefit is that we have our e-learning days, and I do have to share, if we had to use weather makeup days, it is probably that we've had a significant situation happen within our community. I have to say that. We have 5 e-learning days that may be utilized. So I look at it from a perspective, it's a 50-50, Doc. Which way do we go?
Yeah, that's a really good point, thank you. I just have 2 more things real quick. Thank you. I know I mentioned this to Dr. Rodriguez. When I was taking the survey, there was confusion with some people that were texting me and asking about this survey, and then there was the input and whatnot. The way I recall it working was that you could identify what your affiliation was with the district, and then you could either do a narrative input or you could do the survey, or both. It actually let you do both. My question is there any way for us to account for anyone that did both in these outcomes of percentages?
I haven't seen the data points at that level. I'm going to have to refer to those who manage the app. But I did share that we had over 2,000 respondents, 2024, who have done both. I would have to pull it up live to. Yeah, I can't give a correlation.
Okay.
And let me give you a lot. We try to be very discreet. So you can say what you want here, and you can go vote here, and yeah. But I don't have a correlation report to tell you that specific question, ma'am.
Okay. And last thing is more commentary, just briefly. I did read an article recently about Secretary Weaver is discussing what her budget preferences are, and that she was offering in her budget presentation $1,500 to teachers for additional PD days. And I was wondering if there was, I know that's obviously brand new.
May I?
Go for it.
They are developed. I promise you, they are developed that correlate with each one of these options. Ma'am, I've already done that and we're trying to think ahead of the legislation, because there's some stipulations as to who will qualify for that. So I've developed them already. And what I've tried to do is add the days on the front end, on the back end, not to interrupt in the middle, so that pattern that you, as board members, may have a preference will remain. So if there are 5 days, you may see 3 more in the front end of the academic school year and 2 more at the back end. But those are developed as well.
So is that baked into the current red days or off days, or would that be additional days added onto the calendar in the future?
May I go up to the board?
Yes, please. I think it's,
Just scroll down a little. This is
I don't know if it's gonna.
What option are you?
It's the month of August. So just for example, in this option, which I can't, would be, front? Didn't see it. Option 2. It's option 2. And I'm bad, so I will not touch this board. You may see 2 days added in the front end, and then the remaining 3 days
but we can keep the pattern of what is selected. If not, then you're into 15 to 30
some of my, I'll just say, some of my concern was was what Amy Bill, right, and Dr. Badesky brought up in terms in terms of voting for 2 years, having a change in the first year is for us to be trying something new. I'm almost. I don't have a problem with voting for that, but 2 years kind of concerning being we're having a shift, seeing that our neighbor Jasper County went from a year-round calendar, even though we are a year-round modified calendar. For us to do 2 years is just a little concerning for us to see how everyone's kind of settled in and make the necessary adjustments. However, I will say part of the caveat could be that this is and correct me if I'm wrong, is this, more of the question would be, is this a living document? Or no?
That is up to you as the board on your preference with regard to the calendar. Once you make a decision onto calendar, I strongly suggest that is a calendar that we operate from. So it's a living document right now, but...
So the whole purpose of 2 calendars, I understand where you're coming from. The whole purpose of 2 calendars is to allow your community to plan, right? Right. And get ahead of it, right? If we leave it where, you could, living document, will change it, along the way, they can't plan because it's possible we could change, right? They can guess, right, but they can't, right? So that's the only thing about that part.
Right, and the problem I have is, parents can make, sometimes may take this personal. They can make plans, and sometimes life happens. So I'm not really concerned, and I mean this when I say this. So please don't call me, don't email me, none of that. I'm not. This is my preference. I'm not solely concerned with the mythology about vacationing because I'm more concerned about the learning process and how it will better shake out for our students to learn and the timing of it. So the vacation times, I'm not really pushing for. I'm not really, so much concerned about. I'm just concerned about consistency in developing a plan that's going to be able to help our kids be able to learn, to learn and be able to conducive school and structure. Because sometimes some teachers have said, well, not having breaks at some points in time of the year cause the kids to be a little stressed, cause them to be a little stressed. Those are more of the issues that I'm concerned with and how we work towards those to give everyone that brain time to relax and get back at it. That's more in line of what I am concerned of. But just doing the calendar the second time, the second year, it does just concern me a little bit. I know this is just our first shot at it. I know we're not making a decision tonight, but this is just a couple things to put out there to parents and into the community.
So, Mr. Smith, just to be clear, the intent was to have a decision on the calendars tonight. So I just want to put that out there to make sure. Because Dr. Straddles is under, it's the end of the month that you have, right? That you're required by legislation?
By legislation, we have the end of the 30th of March recognized, but I also want us to recognize that within your agenda, you as a board members, you do have the right to bring forward a motion on a presentation. So, yes, I recognize that academic committee. We made a recommendation for the presentation of calendar to come forward. But if it's the purview of the board, you do have the right to go forward with the motion yourselves. That is your purview, that is not mine.
Right, and also, and why I'm under that, why I'm under that assumption is because I remember saying that I wanted to give the community time because this calendar went out maybe about last week, and everyone doesn't have technology. And I even though I understand that the staff has gone above and beyond to get the calendar. Some people who may not have that, but I just want to still continuously to. I just want to still continue to get, because we have more time. We do have another board meeting before the end of the month to possibly give the community and give more time for feedback. Because I myself don't think that all my constituents have had enough time to give me feedback and also time to receive this. In fact, coming in here tonight, I had a phone call about some feedback and about some of the questions that some other people hadn't. So I was not under the impression that this was going to be our first look. And this is one reason why I was a little hesitant to bring this forward on academic committee. But what I was told was that this was going to be the first look at this, and I thought that the whole board and community do need to know about it so that when we have everyone talking and have a clear understanding by the end of the month at the next board meeting. So that's my intent, and I'll leave it there.
Mr. Dowles?
Yeah, thank you, Colonel. You know, with 21,500 kids in the school district, it's going to be hard to satisfy every individual. And I think just for the brevity with which they presented the details, and the two options, options one, the number one option is 15 percentage points higher than number two. In the 25-26 year, option number one is 23 percentage points higher than number two. I think that's sufficiently an overwhelming plurality that I think we should move forward. And I just want to say, I applaud the fact that you are expending so much effort to try to accommodate all the outliers. I mean, outliers are important, but we have a significant, number here that's saying go forward with it.
So do we have a motion?
So moved.
Please state your motion.
Oh, somebody else.
Yeah, okay. And I just want to get clarity, because I agree with Carlton Dallas 100%. Just make sure that the one option that has the higher percentage points is option 2, correct? And option 1 for the 2024-2025. I just want to make sure I get that correct. Okay.
I thought it was 2 and 2.
2 and 2, okay, see?
2 and 2.
I get confused.
It's option 2, actually.
2 and 2?
Poll, yes, ma'am.
That's easier
Yes, ma'am.
for me to say, okay. Then I move that the Board of Education vote to approve the calendars for the 2024-2025 school year with option 2, as well as the 2025-2026 school year, also with option 2, as presented by Dr. Mary Stratos.
Second by Mr. Dallas.
Okay.
Any discussion?
Just a second.
Do you have the motion? Okay, I'd like to have the motion brought up first.
Yeah.
And then we'll have.
Read it. I move
question.
that the Board of Education recommend the school year 2024, 2025, option 2, and 25-26, option 2 calendar.
Okay. Dr. Wisniewski?
I was just going to ask, Dr. Stratos, you said that there is a memorandum from South Carolina Department of Education in regard to that modified year-round calendar?
Yes, ma'am. Would you like me to forward that to?
If you could just
Yes,
send
ma'am.
it to me so that I have it for legislative committee. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Smith?
I'm definitely not comfortable because I don't feel that we've had enough time. It's been about a week that I've known about this as a board member of this calendar. So in fact, I make a motion that we table this.
Second?
No, not second, I'm saying, is there a second?
You don't have to have a second for a table. Yes. You don't have to have a second for a table.
All right. All those in favor of tabling this motion, please signify by saying aye.
You vote for tabling, but
Logged in.
Sounds like the motion for tabling it did not pass. So, do you have anything else you'd like to say, Mr. Smith?
no, I'm just not.
Okay.
My voice.
Any other questions or comments? Dr. Wisniewski?
I just wanted to thank you all for your work and your diligence in making sure that you had stakeholder input from the community and teachers and parents. I think it speaks volumes to the district's dedication to everybody who's involved. I just wanted to thank my constituents because I also put it on my Facebook pages and got a lot of feedback from people and messaging. So it was probably my most engaged post of the year so far. Thank you.
Can we see the motion posted?
Try to get it up. Give me a
Okay.
second.
And point of order, Colonel Garner? I have a point of order.
Go ahead.
Tabling does require a second and a debate and a majority, so it doesn't really matter if it didn't change the outcome, but just for future reference.
Thank you.
According to my
ChatGPT.
point of order, hashtag.
Thank you.
Even I can do that. We got
I think Ingrid should be our person.
It is. I built my own GPT. I
name
loaded
it.
up all our policies, all the South Carolina. It's called point of order.
No, I'm saying like a fun,
Okay.
as if it's a person.
I'm going to read the motion again. I move that the Board of Education approve the school year 2024-2025, option 2, and school year 2025-2026, option 2 calendar. All those in favor of that motion, please say aye. Aye. And we have online, I think, a thumbs up and a thumbs up. Opposed? 1. So there is what, 8-1? Motion carries.
Board members, thank you. We greatly appreciate each of your input. They're very much valued. Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, Ms. Vice Chair, is it 8 or 9? How many board members we have,
We
President?
had 9 to...
Okay.
Next item on the agenda is the superintendent's report.
On the superintendent's report this evening, we have information to share with you regarding a TCL partnership and a USCB partnership that we have been working on. And so, Dr. Stratos, if you're ready.
Good evening once again, board members, and I just figured I'd stay close by. You have 2 executive summaries, but I do want to go forward to share with you. Joining us online this evening are Karen Gilbert. She is our Director of Career Technical Education, as well as Latasha Middleton, our Director of School Counselors. Ms. Gilbert's going to go through the presentation. Prior to her going forward, I want to thank Ms. McKenzie, Ms. Gilbert, Ms. Middleton, Dr. Lee, Dr. Cox, and the hosts of membership from both of these educational institutions for the work and time that we've put forward. So with that, Ms. Gilbert, if you may go forward.
And here, Mary.
If Karen, Ms. Gilbert, hold on one moment, please. We're trying to get your sound. And if there's possibility, if we can get a mic on your side so that could resonate with in here. Just hold on, thank you.
Faintly, like you're in a box.
Perfect. Ms. Gilbert, appreciate your patience. Are we live? That was...
Very good.
School enrollment expansion, our post-secondary partners, the Technical College of the Low Country, and the University of South Carolina, Beaufort. As Dr. Stratus noted, we have been meeting with both teams So it's been an excellent collaboration to bring forward. So let's start with the TCL expansion first. Thank you, Mrs. Cushionberry, for sharing. Just as an overview for the public, dual enrollment programmatic options are excellent opportunities that the Beaufort County School District provides for students and because it allows students to not only take high school credits, also to jumpstart their college experience and begin to associates or even a baccalaureate degree while they are still in high school, hence the dual enrollment. We've had a long-standing partnership with both entities. For TCF, themselves as well. They have a new logo and mascot called the TCL Tides. And for this extended Rising Tides for Success. Have to give Dr. Stratus a little credit on that. I think she had some good title. Starting in the fall of 2024, students can apply for a cohort in the 9th grade, or for rising 9th graders, that will have an opportunity to choose between 2 Associate of Arts or one for the Associate of Science. This start as full-time dual enrollment students. They have access to their feeder high schools. Bill is working on a capacity of up to 50 students to begin this pilot for next year. The goal would be by the end of their sophomore year, they will have they will begin to then work on the second. I'm very excited because this appeals to that high-wage, high-demand job. One of 6 degrees. Students can choose on the are in a programming or networking or even a cybersecurity associate's degree. Want to go into business administration, that will be an option for them. Or if we have students and going on to school, they want to consider the associates in a medical assistant. Lastly, for those students who don't want the healthcare provider side, like to move into the business side of the medical field, they'll have an option. Allied health science with a concentration in small business. The goal for this is by the end of their senior year, they will actually graduate with 2 associate's degrees, all of which then would be transferable to the 4-year university and or be able to obviously look toward employment in 6 of these areas. Along those same lines, if Ms. Cushionberry, if you can go up for questions. I think that USCB is also looking at cultivating future hospitality and business managers with a more targeted approach for major career fields. They are currently offering a pilot on the campus of their Beaufort Island. If you have been there, you know that that location on the island, it is 40,000 square feet. It has state-of-the-art classrooms, a lab, demonstration kitchen, and also Also, it has close proximity to the various resorts. They're proposing a pilot starting with the Hilton Head Island High School students to the other schools. The students would go first and second period over to one of three options for a four-year degree program. One would be the existing one they've had is the hospitality, resort, and tourism management degree, or they could take courses through the event management. Another new opportunity that they're offering there on that campus would be another new option for the students would be that they would be able to pair courses with the college transfer courses that have been available on a college math, the history 101, as well as psychology and the arts. So the students would then return to high school for this first pilot for their third and fourth period. Again, the goal would be by the end of their senior year, their way to having completed the first 2 years toward a 4-year degree in many of those college transfers successfully earned as far as credits. And then with the hope that they would continue toward those management would be available with support from the community there. And one last thing, there's an opportunity to do what's called experiential credit with the local resorts and hotels there, in which they shadow under business managers as part of that culminating experience. So we just wanted to give the board an awareness of this extended partnership, because as we begin to develop this will be going out to those parents and counselors to begin the registration selection process with their marketing departments of branding and putting together packages for us to be able to share. But again, it's just another way to show some innovation that our school partnering with to be prestige with dual enrollment opportunities that will lead to something. So at this time, I'll.
Mr. Ning?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Two questions. First of all, what is our projected goal for student enrollment in these programs? And number two, what is the cost associated per student, if possible?
The TCL program is, would be beginning with a cohort of 50. So then it's 50, 50, 50, 50. So it would sort of cap out at around 200. On here, in terms of eligible students' tuition, books, or fees, there's no cost to tuition, books, or fees for either program. Now, the Hilton Head enrollment number, do you have that, Dr. Strauss? Not the Hilton Head, the USCB enrollment number.
The USCB, we were looking at a potential cohort of 25. Now, we have already recognized some students who are eligible, that we haven't rolled it out to the school until after the board and meeting, and then a training to our school counselors, because one of the items, as well as we're looking at the opportunity, the business industry is looking for opportunity of multilingual students. So we've been able to identify a cohort of 16 students already who meet. So our goal is 25. Our hope, to be very direct with you, is as many students that can get enrolled. It's already a dual enrollment cost, and it comes out to about 15. I got you. So it comes out to about and I don't have the exact details because I didn't bring that sheet, it's in my computer, but the cost for credits comes to about $53 per credit times 3, so we're ahead on the cost per course for students in both programs, and it gets rolled into our dual enrollment budget. I've already given a detailed estimate to Tanya Crosby, so she can look at budgetary impact as well. So that information has been shared.
Mr. Dallas?
Yeah, we've been very passionate about this particular path to career success, and the demand is growing. And I think the fact that these offerings are going to be domiciled in the Beaufort County School District is absolutely a win. It makes it very convenient and it makes it accessible, and so I think this is a real positive. That's what I hear circulating in the economic development, the business recruiting arena. So they're very pleased about this. So I think it's excellent. One thing that we speak on is we've created or we've identified a formula called LO divided by FYI. And that means we want our kids to no longer just think about, okay, I'm getting a degree. We want our kids to think about what's the most cost-efficient way you get that degree and you start working. So LO means when you get your first job, loans you owe, divided by first-year income. If that's more than 25%, you're going to drown under debt. Student loan debt is $1.7 trillion right now. And the government gets a percentage interest paid on it, as well as private lenders. So it's growing. So I totally applaud this, and anything I can do to support it, please just direct me.
Vice Chair, Sir, go ahead, I'm sorry. Vice Chair, just to build on that, our goal is, you're landing on there, Mr. Dallas, is that financial independence, and one step even further is to keep our students, that once they are ready to go into the workforce, to have that workforce to be trained to be within Beaufort County. That is part of the goal as well, hence the internships that's kind of being alluded to. And USCB has rather been generous on the fact of looking forward to continued scholarships. So they're partnering to partner deeper growth. I have to share that as well.
All right.
So yeah, I agree with Mr. Dallas. I think this is definitely a good idea. Technology and healthcare are fields that we definitely can grow a workforce for. There's good jobs here for them. And I am in definite support of this. However, I think that we have to be a little bit careful. And so one thing I think about as I look at this, and I have a few specific questions, because there's a little bit, I think with Mr. Ney and I, some hard data that could be included in this presentation. It's 200 for this, the TCL technology certification program is $214 a credit hour. Just looking at the cybersecurity one, to get the certification, and that I'm assuming includes the CompTIA and all that kind of stuff, it's 63 credits at $214 per credit, or $13,482. Are we getting a substantial discount on that?
Substantial. I'm pulling up the data points for you now, ma'am.
Thank you. That makes me so happy.
I need my computer. Thank you, ma'am.
The other question I have is, so I guess the however comma about this that I think that we just need to be mindful of, how many of these are online, these classes?
I do apologize, ma'am.
What percentage of these classes are online?
We haven't gotten there yet because we've made a request for starting to be face-to-face on campus.
Because right now, the TCL technology program is all the Beaufort Mather
Our
campus.
TCL model will be face-to-face.
So will students from South Abad expected to drive to TCL Beaufort Mather campus?
This is a program. This isn't a school.
So
right?
Okay.
So
where's the education going to occur?
It may occur there at the post-secondary site, but important to note, this is considered a program. It's not considered a school site. So that is important for us as we move down in our planning purposes. For example, as we deal with either transportation and those types of issues. On a programmatic level, when they're programs, we do have transportation on some programs. When they are school sites, not necessarily, right? So I think that is an important distinction as part of these initiatives as we continue to build them. It's not set in stone. This is just meant to be informational for the board today on kind of where we're headed, but there's more comprehensive work that has to be done on all of this.
So just to follow up, because it sounds to me like it's just still, the process is evolving.
That's right.
It's coming into shape. But that is one of my concerns, because the current dual enrollment program, I have a junior in high school. A lot of people sign up for it and are surprised when they find out how much of it is online. And what my concern with that is, and this is just as you think about this program going forward, I am, again, very supportive of the direction. I love both the technology and healthcare. That's my jam. I actually had a summer internship program for technology for high school kids, and they can teach themselves. You actually don't need to be in school. You can teach yourself through YouTube videos everything you need to know. But I think that we should not get into a point where we're doing a lot of online, because what I do think dual enrollment, there's always a cost, right, to everything you do. So while it is a win, one of the problems I have with dual enrollment, and one of the things I worry about and think we need to be attentive to, is we're losing some of that other values of high school, right? The social interaction, the art, the drama, the athletics, the ROTC, debate club. And I do think right now the way we have it set up is, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's second semester of your junior year and your senior year eligible for dual enrollment, right? That's taking a lot of the older leadership kids out of the high school environment, because some of them do go to, although it's quite a drive out to Hardyville, but a lot of it's online. So I just want to be mindful as we think about these programs, making sure that we wrap it in what high school is on a larger sense, because I don't want to see the Beaufort County Public School District become just sort of a business-driven, kids at home on their computer getting certifications. And I don't think that's what you're doing. But I think that's something to kind of keep your eye on as we move forward and expand the numbers.
As we're working through development of this initiative, this is an exclusive Beaufort County School District enrolled student option and possibility, right? So it's not for anybody else out there. This is an exclusive Beaufort County School District student agreements that we're working through.
Vice Chair, may I? So I do want to bring, for USCB, there is an age requirement of 16 years. So we've been able to open the opportunity, if you're at the age of 16, if you turn 16 at your sophomore year. They do not take students who are ninth graders. TCL does. To address the opportunity of more diversity of courses, we are aligning our registration with USCB to be aligned with USCB. We've normally had the registration happen afterwards. We've gone to another level that is kind of not giving our students the same access as a student who was not on dual enrollment. So I do want to share that. So we're doing better alignment in order to have greater access to what are the course offerings, so that students do not end up predominantly in virtual. They would have a greater amount of face-to-face, because the goal is face-to-face. With the exception, I do need students having virtual as well, because you have athletes who are on the other tracks. So we need some diversification. So I do want to share, you had another question with regard to costs. USCB cost per course is $265, because we do obtain a discounted per credit amount. And for TCL, it is $214. So if you look at cost per course, so there is a registration fee that is $44. If the student is parking at USCB does have a $25 per course cost for parking, but if you're virtual, you don't pay for that. So I do want to share that. But just on a flat fee, it's $265 and $214.
Go ahead for clarification.
$214 per course or $214 per credit? Or is it
You're paying we get a significant discounted cost per credit. So it is $214.
I think I'll take a page out of one of my colleagues who normally say this, when he would normally come over and say, sometimes we worry about in terms of cost. You know, this comes to questions where you can't have your cake and eat it. You have to pick. You got to pick. Either we want to educate our kids, or either we don't want to give them options. So when we come up with things of the conversation that we just had, sometimes we take away options because people say, well, if we invite them or we engage them in our program, then these are things that they don't want, and it's just really worth the squeeze. So, you know, as board members, we have to we have to be mindful of those things as well, in terms of partnerships with when we're creating these relationships with these different universities. I like to thank the people, Mrs. Gilbert and her staff for doing it, but I do have a couple questions as well. Well, let me ask a question, because, you know, I'm sure we're also glad that we do have some programs on the 278 corridor now. So my question is, how did we pick this program over here? What was the arrangement? What made us come over here and say the program is going to be over here?
The availability of space at USCB and TC, and that was the criteria for selecting it for the USCB was the space here at the South Campus. We do have a large amount of availability on the north side as well. We recognize we have the early college model at Wellbridge. We recognize that we have dual enrollment live within USCB in downtown Beaufort. So it was the availability and discussion with the university that came to the table to land at this opportunity. And it is a pilot. I do want to share that, Mr. Smith. So at this time and place, it is a pilot for one school that is unique, again, as Dr. Rodriguez shared to us for us here in Beaufort County.
Right. And just to share with you, as a board member, I'm sure people on my side, we don't, you know, we don't mind you pilot the stuff on different sides of the county. You know, I'm sure at some point in time we get our slice of that cake as well. So we're just looking forward to that time.
I am going to share with you, sir. I promise you. But we're taking on one bite at a time, but I do promise you, we do have other things on the line.
And guess we're going to walk with you. So it's no problem. Thank you for what you've done. Also, in return, my question is, one concern I do have, how do we pick these programs to be put in these schools? And do we survey our students? Because what's concerning me in this community is that from going to all these films, like I spoke at county council the other night, is that, you know, I'm looking at all these caskets, and today I went to another funeral, but it was not towards the violence. It was just one of our staff members. God bless them, and they buried one of their children today. But more so, I'm looking for things that we can have students work towards, that will be able to give that same turnaround Mr. Dodds was just talking about the PO, whatever it is. My mind is so many different places, but to have that same that same slice of the pie and be able to come and be able to afford for their family, because the hospitality industry is awesome, but all my constituents don't want to be in the hospitality industry. So I'm just fine. I mean, I know from the different business owners over here, they like to have people in the hospitality industry, because somebody got to work at McDonald's, somebody got to work at the clubhouse, and somebody's working at some of these other places. But unfortunately, everybody don't like serving food and getting sweaty and doing some of that stuff. So my question is, what is the process and how we get these programs that we have at hand? So then I was surveying students to see what their interests are, instead of just going out and making partnerships as well.
So, Mr. Smith, and I'll let Ms. Gilbert chime in here in a minute, but certainly one of the things that we look at is economic development and upcoming workforce opportunities in the future in the area, in the region, and locally, right? And so they actually look at that, they actually study that, and use that to begin to determine programs that we offer in our career and technical ed programming. Ms. Gilbert, do you want to share any more elaborate information on that?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And my apologies. The recipient sounds is coming in and out, but if I understood correctly, thank you, Mr. Smith. You're asking how we come about career and tech ed programs, and I believe we'll be developing that package for the academic committee. A three-pronged approach, as Dr. Rodriguez. Demand for current and future emerging occupations, and then staff. Programs. So again, we want to thank our community. Right, increase capacity where we have popular programs, and also to be able to, as Mrs. Boatwright, to be able to keep up with this fast-paced advancing technologies that are here, actually. If I heard correctly, as far as the in-person, it is the goal for the USCB Hilton Head campus. They want students to come onto their campus. It's my understanding this will be all in person, and we have had, Ms. Middleton has provided in this fall, transfer courses, but most of them, as you said, Ms. Boatwright, some of them were online, or some of them were traveling over to the Bluffton campus. By opening up these offerings on the Hilton Head campus, a couple miles away, so they'll be able to have a nice experience back to their to the high school, and then go from there. And again, with the they are with their IT, they are increasing their networking operating center and their security operating center on their campuses as well, to be able to have that better college experience. So we're there with you. But the goal of these pilots are person on their campuses as possible. We'll prepare that, Mr. Smith, for the academic committee request, and for your purview to bring it to the full board as to all this is going to fit in per the referendum, and how we are selecting programs across the district.
Ms. Gilbert, thank you. And Mr. Smith, that's really an excellent question, because what it does is it provides us an opportunity really to clarify exactly what Ms. Gilbert started with, which is there is some student information that comes out of it, right, and interest. There is labor market information, so we're not just willy-nilly picking out of the sky, right? There's an interest, there's labor market demand that looks at current and future labor market demand, so that we want to avoid having a program that might be obsolete in terms of opportunities, right? And so as they think through it, they think ahead for the purpose of making sure that we're preparing students for tomorrow. Right. So it's a great question.
Vice Chair, may I just add one item? I do want the board to make note. With USCB, the title is Future Business Hospitality Management. Mr. Smith brought up a very fine point. We're looking at developing business management in this program. I want to put that forward because that is what the campus of USCB and the south end of the island focuses on that. It is the development of those who are the expediter, those who are the management, those who are doing corporate work in service industry. It is not those or the individuals as a line. And I'm no disrespect because my father was a chef, a line cook, and I want to share that. This is the business side of the house. That's why we wanted to have this opportunity. So I do want to share that.
Right. And I thank you for bringing that up, but and this is a serious conversation to me, in terms of when I look at what's going on in my community, I look at the test scores and look at the crime rate, because it definitely correlates to the test scores that we have and some of the other things that we have going on in terms of sometimes student behavior and all of that, because some of that same behavior that we see displayed in the school is some of the same behavior displayed in the community. So and bring the direct correlation together, and in terms of that, I want to figure out how can we play our part as a district to make sure that we have our kids equipped enough to where they can go out there and they don't have to make those bad decisions, and they have opportunities and they have options, and they don't have to feel like their back is against the wall when it's time to pay the light bill. That's my concern. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Stratus.
Thank you, board members. Appreciate it.
Let's move on to the next item, which is board business action. We have a donation from the Friends of Shanklin.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I move that we approve the donation from Friends of Shanklin in the amount of $5,380.84 for virtual field experience for third through fifth grade students.
Second that motion.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I'd just like to thank Friends of Shanklin for this very kind donation. I had to look up what the production company did, and it looks really neat. It has some animatronics and facial makeup kind of stuff. It was just really neat, so thank you.
This organization has committed, last I heard, was well over $20,000 to Shanklin Elementary within the last 3 or 4 years. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye. I see Miss Chloe's got it up, and Mr. Roll, do you have yours? You have your thumbs up? I can't see Mr. Campbell. Now I see it. Okay. Motion carries unanimously. Dr. Wisniewski?
Mr. Chair, this is for second reading. I move I recommend a motion for the GC 2.23 Policy Committee proposed public comments policy change for second reading.
Second, Mr. Dallas. Any discussion?
Just wanted to remind everybody that it was just one strike from Roman numeral 2C. So after this reading, this will be final and go into our manual.
And what was that? And what was that motion?
The motion?
I mean that motion. What was the change?
Oh, the change was to strike from the proposed change. The board encourages multiple speakers from a group or organization to appoint a single representative to address the board. So we're just taking that out and keeping all other recommended changes.
All those in favor of approving the second reading, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? One opposed, and we have 2 other yays online, so it passes with 1 opposed. Ms. Butler, that was good, do you have everybody? Okay. Next item is discussion of board members serving on other boards. Who wanted to talk about that?
I had a We had a conversation like 4 months ago about, and I have reached out to our town, my county councilman about getting, but I didn't know what was coming up again for. I don't think I put it on there, but it was just about getting on some of these planning commissions and trying to have the schools considered as they think about the massive amount of development, particularly in 170 and New River. So I don't know I didn't know there was more discussion needed. I think,
I think this item ended on the agenda because as they went through future topics, it was listed in the future topics component. And I think that's how it landed on there for board to talk about.
Excellent.
And I think you just did.
So get on the board.
Working on it.
Okay. I think we'll move.
May I just say?
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, but in a prior school district, they had a similar idea and concept, right, that board members talked about. One of the things the board did was to identify some specific boards that were high return on investment or high yield for the school district. And then that is what the board identified, people serving on. So sometimes those boards may be willing to say, you know what, we'll have one seat on the board for a Beaufort County school board member. And then the board here could determine, who's sitting on that seat. That's all. So just a thought.
Mr. Chair.
Dr. Wisniewski.
Would it be appropriate for legislative committee to look at that as when I'm thinking of committees to go to for beginning that process of creating a list, that's the only one that I can think of.
Objection to that?
Happy to take it on.
It sounds good.
Okay.
Okay. Next item is the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, there are the minutes of January 16th and January 26th. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? So moved by Ms. Boatright and seconded by Dr. Wisniewski. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
I'm going to abstain. I didn't read this, so I'm going to abstain.
You're going to abstain, one abstention. And I see thumbs up online. So pass with one exception. Future agenda topics. Does anybody have future agenda topics? Seeing none, I have an announcement and something to pass out that we should all have, and that is, would you like to join the Beaufort County School District Health Advisory Committee? They're seeking members from the public, 2 parents, 3 clergy, 2 health professionals, 2 teachers, 2 students, and 2 other persons not employed by the county school district. And here's some information each of you should have. I know I've got folks that I think would be very interested. I'm going to give it to and request that you do the same. Yes.
Just wanted to give kudos to, I don't know if Ms. Gilbert is still on the line, but Ms. Gilbert, I was fortunate enough to observe Ms. Gilbert and Dr. Lavecchio make a presentation jointly, and it was absolutely phenomenal. The feedback that I heard amongst some of the people who've seen it was they'd like to take it into the community because it talked about jobs and all the attributes of those 2 institutions, Beaufort County School District and Beaufort Jasper ACE. The other thing is about, what's the day? Tuesday. About 12 days ago, I participated in the wonderful training presented by, and they call her affectionately, Gunny Henderson. The CPR, the stop the bleed, the defibrillator, all of that. Took 2.5 hours, but it was well worth it. That was on a Thursday. And then this past Saturday, I was attending a historical presentation, and a lady passed out. Completely passed out. And I had been trained, and it scared the bejeebers out of me, to be honest with you. She was 80, and she just, and I felt the pulse. I couldn't feel the pulse. Another lady came up and grabbed the other arm, examined for a pulse, and she felt a very slight pulse. But I did not have to do CPR, but I was prepared to. And I would encourage anybody, when Ms. Gunny Henderson, if she's okay with me calling that, because the fire department called it that affectionately, I suggest you take it. You can get Narcan. I think it's in every school.
Yes.
The school is pushing it, and so it's just wonderful having it. So I defer.
I would just add, to your point, 2019, when I first got here, was at Walmart with my family. And there was a gentleman who needed CPR, and his wife was there and asking for help. And I had been trained and everything, and so you never know when you're going to need it. I did have to do it, and when you do it, when you're trained, it's important. You have that confidence behind you as you jump into it. So.
I just want to briefly add that part of what the fire department told us is that you can go to the fire department and ask for Narcan, they give it to you. They also will come out and they'll train you on defibrillators and all of that. And I learned, and they shared this, that Mr. Dees, who I think is in our HR department,
yes,
he has a famous effort that he encountered a person who straight-lined and he had to do CPR. It was not successful, but they use it as an example of the benefit. I'm through.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to announce yesterday was the first meeting of the Special Education Advisory Committee. Lots of good things going on there. So things are moving forward with that. The next meeting is March 11th at 3:30 in the afternoon at the district. And many more things are going to be established, as well as future topics at that meeting. I encourage anybody that has any interest to attend the meeting. Thank you.
Do you have any public comments?
I have one more.
Okay. Dr. Wisniewski.
I was just going to let everybody know, if you didn't know, there's a special election for Bluffton Town Council on February 13th. If you know anybody that lives in Bluffton, please encourage them to get out and vote, because these special elections don't usually have big turnouts. Thank you.
All right.
My bat and click on the announcements. That's a lot of announcements. I just want to make announcements. Carlton Dallas and I and Colonel Geyer, you have participated in, and Angela Middleton and well, in our first annual Incubate Debate program. And we are sending, I think, 12 students to the national tournaments in Jacksonville, Florida in April. And the judges commented on how much the group of students had grown over the course of just starting in October to January. It was impressive. So kudos to the people who are proceeding on to Jacksonville.
Two announcements. February 15th, 16th, and 17th is the African American History Education Conference. It'll be the third year. And those are the dates, February 15th, 16th, and 17th. The other thing I'll conclude is today I attended Palmetto's Finest finalists announcement and presentation, and I went with Dr. Lavecchio and Mr. Jerry Ferguson who's one of the teachers over at Beaufort Jasper Ace, and they are a finalist for Palmetto's Finest, so they've got another round of interviews coming up down the road, but they honored them today as one of the finalists.
Only I was just going to add in terms of announcements, please, we had a basketball coach over at the Mattock Creek High School. He's in ET. He buried his daughter today. Coach Charles Brown, his family is very open with it. And, if we could, just as the days and months go by, please keep him and his family in our prayers and our thoughts and prayers, because he's very supportive with his basketball team and with that school. He has the heart of this building, and please keep him and his family in our thoughts and prayers as we continue our daily lives. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing nothing else, I'd like to say we would adjourn with unanimous consent unless there's any objection. Thank you very much. She said we don't have any.
He's a better recruit.